Okay, so we're here in this class, and so we're going to start talking about a few things that are really kind of important, like what makes this exactly a field, right? So we know, and this is really starts with questions, right? We have questions in a lot of different things, right? Things where we are like working on certain papers or have certain actions. And so I'll tell you a little story, right? Will be introduced just as a motivating example, right? So and I say had, this uncle is dead, right? An uncle named Glenn who had like this long, stringy hair, right? And one time, it was Thanksgiving, and so we had this kind of like green bird, not really, because bird shouldn't be green. Is this a bird? No, turkey, whatever, right? He comes outside, sitting there talking with my dad and my sister, and he has in his mouth, he lights a cigarette, Marlboro Red, right? And it's smoking, right? And as he's here talking about what's going on, he begins to tell us the story, right? So, I never really knew this uncle at all, but he tells us a few things about himself. One, he lived in South Carolina. Cool. Love that you live there. I've heard Charleston's great. Maybe go to Myrtle Beach or something, have a great time. Who knows, right? And two, he had, he lived in a trailer park of some kind, right? So he lived there with his trailer and his wife, did whatever. I mean, he also said that he kind of had a jerk landlord. Like the kind of guy who was always up on his butt, always harassing him, never really seemed to like him. Just really not a nice guy, right? Four, so we had this jerk inmate, and meanwhile my uncle is just, smoking here. Kind of a jerk, and something happened with my uncle, and uncle goes to court. So goes to court, and the judge says, get out of South Carolina. Now, this had something to do with the landlord. Now, was it because my uncle wasn't paying his rent? Was it because he did something, he destroyed some property? Was it because he just got on the right side? But point being is that my uncle told me in very clear terms that the landlord was a poopy head. In those exact words. Now, he might do that. So he ended up packing his things. He ended up having to move back to Ohio. He's banned, never allowed to come. It was either he leave or, he has to stay in prison. And then he told me something else, right? So he heard this story, right? And he doesn't know if it's true, but, there was, that's not a good color. So there's this kind of trailer, right? Right here, little windows on the side, maybe a little door. That looks sad, right? And one day he said, I don't know what happened, but one day, all of a sudden, this trailer is on fire. And, it was like a really, big blaze just right here. Fire burning of this one place. And it just so happens that this turned out to be the landlord's home. And my uncle says, at this point, that he wasn't for sure who did it, but he's pretty sure that poopy head deserved it. And you know what, guys? In case this wasn't clear for you, my uncle there, he was the arsonist. He did do it. And he was letting us know that he was willing to burn stuff down if someone made him wronged the wrong way, right? Now you hear that story, right, and you have a lot of questions, right? One, you're like, Uncle, why? Just why, right? Why did you decide to do that? Why? I mean, of all things you could have done, all ways you could have handled, what led you down this series of decisions, right? You had decision 1, which led to decision 2, which led to the sequence 3, which led to decision 4. Why is that the case, right? And that's something that we're all filled up, right? This field, this profession is all about answering why people do bad things, right? Like terrible things they know they shouldn't do, yet they do it anyway. And so what this chapter does is introduce some ideas related to why people do bad things and some different decisions, different ways to think about it. And so that's what we'll end up covering in this module today. And as a little bonus right here, did you know? No, you probably didn't know this. If you did, wow, more power to you. My uncle died in 2020. How, you might ask? He was estranged from the family, hated everyone, said don't ever talk to me. So it's not like a huge loss in terms of the family, but he was a little liquored up, and a firework blew off his face. Because he stood over it, hit him in the face, head injury, died. It was in People magazine. Weirdest thing. But in that case then, so next time we'll kind of pick up with our first kind of explanation as to why people commit crime.